represent you guys in student government next year. I've really enjoyed my time at East so far, and I'd like to make next year even better. And since I'm a member of a variety of different groups at the school, I've come to love certain things, but also recognize where I think we need improvement. And I've been a member of SGA for 3 years, so I think that I'm ready for a leadership opportunity. And I'm very interested in uniting the student body and making everyone's experience more memorable. And I really want to make next year amazing, so thanks for coming to the debate, and I hope I can share my vision for East with you guys.
All right, hi everyone, I'm Noah Clapacs, and I'm running to be your secretary for next year. So my campaign is definitely focused on inclusion. What I want to have next year is a student body and a student government that represents all types of interests. Now, student government, as it stands right now, mostly is comprised of the same type of people, of the same academic skills, and of the same interests and the same friend groups. So what I want to look towards is solutions that are feasible for the student government to do next year to make sure that all different ranges of academic and extracurricular interests are represented. And so because I feel that firsthand that a good student government can have a really good impact and can make or break a person's year. So I want to make sure that incoming freshmen and already existing high school students have a really good year next year and have their interests promoted and represented by student government.
Alright, so our first question is, how will you organize and promote club activities at East? It'll be like,
okay. So to promote club activities at East, I think it would be really good if we could, I know there was an Arts East at school at one point, but I'm not sure what happened, and there's also Eastside, and I think it would be good if those could work together so they could promote all of the things in one area instead of just some promoting different kinds, because the way to get people to go to clubs and events is if just you have to support each other because everyone has a different interest, so, and then student government can also help by making signs and just encouraging people to join different clubs and go to different activities.
So I agree with Olivia. I think that participation is extremely crucial in clubs, but what I see as the breaking point in club participation is definitely club week, especially for incoming freshmen and people who aren't that familiar with the school. After club week has happened, most people have their after-school agenda set and their lunch agenda set for the rest of the year. So I propose focusing on club week as a way of growing club participation. So one of the ways that I think that could really help is by organizing club week not alphabetically, but by different types of clubs, so that people who have a very set interest on what type of club they want to go to don't have to look up each specific club alphabetically and go that day, but just attend perhaps Monday for service clubs, Tuesday for science clubs, Wednesday for different types of academic teams. And that's a way that we can promote people involving themselves in different clubs that they are interested in at a more accessible pace. And that's the way that student government can make clubs more participated in at East.
Our second question is about Springfest. How many Springfests have you attended, and what is your vision for this event?
Okay. So I attended 1 out of my 2 Springfests because last year it was raining, and frankly I didn't really feel like going to a Springfest that my freshman year wasn't super school spirit oriented. It was more of just going from class to class and hanging out with your friends. And then with the rain and all, it just didn't seem like the type of opportunity that I'd like to go to. So that's why I think in the future, Springfest needs to be more student body oriented and more school spirit oriented. If we have a Springfest that replicates more of a large whole school pep rally with large activities on the hill and eliminating the classes and taking attendance at certain periods, then it'll more incentivize the student body to attend Springfest and make Springfest more of a whole school gathering rather than just going to certain classes.
I never attended Springfest first my 2 years because my freshman year I was out of town, and last year I'm not really sure of the reason. But for Springfest in the future, I think also like Noah, it would be really good to have just like the whole school events out on the hill. And I think what could be really beneficial is if we had like different activities where, say, the juniors and the freshmen would be on a team together to do something, and then like sophomores or seniors or however they would set it up. Because as of right now, I think the grades are pretty divided and school doesn't feel as much of like a community. So if we could have more events like that where all the grades could like intermingle with each other, I think that would be really great.
Okay, so my quick question. Describe a time when you had to manage a project in a certain way. This may include making unpopular decisions and delegating certain roles.
I'm a junior officer of Habitat for Humanity right now, and actually we're planning an event and it's Shakori this week. But during it, we had to figure out which ways would be the best to promote it and how we would get it out to the most amount of people, and also set up times for bands to come and like who we wanted to invite and how to get the most people to attend. And it also, we had to plan a lot of the logistics, like how we would get all of the equipment to the event. And yeah, so I think planning events is a very big part of student government. And I also was a member of junior class council, where we had to plan prom this year, which was very stressful because a lot of people come, but we got it out good, so yeah.
All right, so in my experience as one of the co-captains of congressional debate on the East debate team, I have the responsibility of like working pretty closely with the coaches and the administrators to figure out like out-of-state debate trips and managing costs and managing budgets for a lot of the debate teams, like outside of school activities. So in that kind of role that I play, I focus a lot on like looking at how I can manage the resources that the debate team has, as well as how I can gain participation from members of the team in different events. So I think that kind of like communication skill and that type of group leadership can really benefit me and qualify me for the role of secretary.
Next question is, what unique skills do you have that would benefit student government?
So I consider myself a pretty good communicator. I like effective use of social media, and I really enjoy outreach and talking to people and communicating with people in other grades and people within other clubs to get things done. And I think that's a skill that I can really bring to student government, especially in the position of secretary. I think it's really important that to involve all of the student body into the student government's activities. We need different initiatives like opt-out, like whole school email blasts for student government to make sure that the information is getting to students rather than students having to go to great lengths to get information about student government. So one of the things I want to do as secretary is make sure that that information is completely accessible to students. So I'm talking like deadlines for application forms, different meetings, different meeting agendas. So by making that like an opt-out email thing that we can submit to the entire student body, I think it'll be a lot better way to make accessible a lot of the resources that student government has to a lot of people that wouldn't join it necessarily otherwise.
I've been a member of the field hockey team for all of my 3 years at East, and next year I'm going to be a captain. And there's going to be 4 captains next year, just like there's going to be 4 members of the SGA like officials. And so I think it's really good because I'm not allowed to make any of these decisions just by myself. Like we have to run it by other people, and most of the times that's compromising. So I'm very used to compromising and working with others, and I can get along with people very well. And also, since I have been a member of SGA for 3 years, I've seen the past secretaries and like what they've worked for taking attendance and setting itineraries, and like what works best and what wouldn't, so then I can work off of those to make my own choices.
And our final question for today is, what is the number one initiative that you would like to implement if elected, and how will you accomplish this?
My number one initiative, if elected, would be to make the school seem more like a community, because as I said earlier, the grades are pretty divided right now, and I think the best way to do this is just to get people like wanting to be involved with the school. Like one thing that's worked really well, I believe, is Wildcat Wednesdays, because people come out and they have a lot of fun. So I think if we were able to have those more often, then the grade levels could get together, and then the school can, like, we just want to be more of a student body and not feel like a freshman, a junior. And another thing would be sports events, not to try to like make it sections by grades, like we're always like freshmen go to the back, but it really should just be like we're all there and we go to the same school and we're supporting the same people, so we should be able to work together. And I think another thing that we could do is have like a newsletter that SGA could send out that said what we did, and then it could also feature students who have done really well so they can get the recognition that they need.
So I 100% agree with Olivia. I think that making a school community is the responsibility of the student government, and I think that any attempt to make that happen will be great. So what I'm planning to do is create more of an involved student community for incoming freshmen. So my plans to do that include creating more of an SGA presence at freshman orientation, and also going out to middle schools and making it known what SGA does and what our role is in the student body. So that way it won't take 2 or 3 years for students to finally warm up to the East community and get into community engagement, whereas they can come into the school already involved in the community, and they can hit the ground running in terms of involvement in SGA and involvement in larger clubs that SGA can support. So I think making it known to incoming freshmen at events like orientation, what SGA does is a great way that we can create a community that is sustainable for the years to come.
All right, now we'll have a closing statements, 1 minute each.
Right. So really, I just want to be your secretary for the next year because I want to make sure that East is a community for everybody. I want to make sure that people who are not necessarily in SGA, people who are not necessarily on sports teams, feel like they're included in the East's engagement. So by making things like social media pages that support different clubs at Club Week, and by organizing Club Week a lot better, I think that by using SGA as like a larger overarching force and expanding the role of SGA, what we can do is make it so that other clubs are supported and that other clubs feel like they have a larger platform to gain more participation. And it's really in those smaller clubs that an East community is built. So when SGA takes on the role of expanding those smaller clubs, what we can do is make it so that the community is diverse, caters to all interests, and make sure that everyone is included. Please vote for Noah Clapacs for Secretary, 2017-2018.
Well, thank you guys for coming to the debate. I'm really excited for next year, and I hope that I have the opportunity to represent all of you guys. I'm very interested in doing the newsletter and many other ideas, and I really think that my past with SGA and field hockey will help me to be an effective secretary. And what I really just want to do is support all my fellow students from arts to sports and everything in between. So I hope you guys enjoyed the debate, and make sure you vote next week. Thanks.